Welcome back to Bazaar. I'm Miko, and the first major patch of Season 5 is dropped. There are some big changes. These are mostly to major outliers for Stelle, but there's a bit more than that, so let's get through it. First up on the list, Mandala now only spawns on day 6+. Previously, there was some crazy tech with Mandala where if you transmuted an item that was below gold tier and there were no items at the same tier as your item, it would just jump up to gold tier to find something it could transmute into. This is fixed in multiple ways in this patch, but one of them is that Mandala no longer spawns before day 6. Moving on to the relatively small list of Vanessa changes, Butterfly Swords now has its proper multicast. As an established Butterfly Swords hater, I had no idea it was bugged. It's still totally unplayable. I'm glad it works properly though. Incendiary Rounds apparently had an improper item tag. It no longer shows up at the wrong merchants. Rowboat had its deadly enchant fixed, and Stealth Glider had an issue fixed where it removed damage reduction when it wasn't caused by Stealth Glider. So like if you had an invuln potion go off before Stealth Glider ended, I guess to end the Stealth Glider with how that works, what would happen is the Stealth Glider would turn off the invuln potion too. Now moving on to the Stelle changes, there are a couple of fixes here. Flare Gun would target already flying items. Nothing else did that. Fly targeting is smart targeting except for Flare Gun. They fixed that issue. Next up, Pressure Heater. Apparently the Obsidian version dealt damage to you instead of your opponent, so they fixed that. Very huge issue. Balloon Engine's taking a moderate nerf, but honestly, it's just kind of a rework. Its base burn value is down from 3 per tier to 2 per tier, which is definitely worse. It matters a lot every single point of burn on this, but it's only 1 point less, and now its base cooldown is down to 4 seconds. So for the purpose of like just starting up your build in the first couple of days, you get a lot more fly triggers a lot faster. If you're like still assembling Balloon Engine in the early and mid game, which reminder, I think a Balloon Engine as like a really powerful mid game card, this makes it easier to transition into, require less work for it to be good. I genuinely think this is a buff. Like obviously this is unpleasant and does hurt the card, but I think that generally Balloon Engine will be just fine. You need to look for Curio a little bit harder for buffs. You need to look for loot items a little bit harder for buffs. Pursue skills, even that like Tiny Furry Monster a bit more for buffs. But you already needed to do all that. Like maybe at bronze, it's just not enough to burn on its own, but there are plenty of other support cards like Blowtorch and not Steam Engine, Pressure Washer. I think that's what it's called. Like there's just enough other burn cards. I think that this is not a nerf. I think it's about the same as it was. It's just easier to transition into, but very marginally weaker once you do transition into it. Birdcage might have been less powerful than I thought it was. Apparently there was an issue where it triggered off of both players' stop flying triggers. So maybe in some of those insane matches with Birdcage, it actually was like grossly overperforming. But at the same time, I feel like I was seeing insane Birdcage value in every fight, regardless of whether or not my opponent was playing stop flying builds. Grabinator now specifies what it destroys in the tooltip because a lot of people thought it would destroy their own item based on the item destruction stuff in Stelle. Hang Glider is receiving a much needed nerf. It's going from 4/3 seconds down to 5/4, so it's a second slower at all tiers. And it's also losing 25 base damage per tier, dropping from 125 250 to 100 200. Having just finished a run that was updated live with this Hang Glider nerf, Hang Glider is still completely incredible. It was super fucking busted previously. It's still very strong. Hang Glider is nowhere near dead. Next up, Hanger had its shiny implementation bugged. Apparently previously the tooltip was both wrong and it was doing something stronger than it should have been. Now it's just +1 second to the effects of Hanger. And this is good because Hanger should have a good shiny enchantment. That's how all the shiny enchantment on CDR stuff used to work. The previous tooltip was too little and the previous effect was too much. Next up, the start of several large items for Stelle going to silver, the private runabouts going to silver tier. It's also losing 50 damage per tier at the higher tiers. It's probably still a good card. I personally never got a run-in with Stelle. I've climbed all the way to diamond before this patch, and I never, ever got a private runabout build. I built specifically to try to do it a lot in my last like 10 games. And despite that, I just never found it at gold and found other better things before I found it, if I did find it at gold. So hopefully this will help like build into it a little bit more smoothly. It feels very similar to Aerial Turret, where it's like very, very good at trying to get out on a diamond victory, but not super broken at all when you're trying to go for like winning on day 12+. So moving it to silver tier, I think will be better for the health of the card. I think maybe it could stand to be like 75, 125, 175. Those are ugly numbers though. I do wonder if this is just not impressive enough, but you get it down to a 1 second cooldown and it's base 50 multicast to 1 second cooldown. Maybe it's fine. Lightning Butterfly is receiving a nerf to its scaling. It was previously really, really good at higher tiers. Now it's still very good at higher tiers, but not quite as broken. At silver, it remains unchanged. I think it'll be just fine. Observatory is also going down to silver tier. This is a nerf. This makes Stella worse. Or sorry, Stelle. Fun fact, in all of my tags for my videos, I put Stelle and Stella for everything I write because I know other people will be mispronouncing her name and misspelling her name if they search for her. But Observatory starting at silver tier, this is like a very jank, weird card. I know you can build infinites with it. I just haven't seen them and don't know what they are yet. But it's like super niche and not the thing you want to see all the time. So seeing a lot more Observatory is not going to be good for you, especially silver Observatory, when just like as a value in terms of just putting something on your board, the gold Observatory didn't even seem like a good card to begin with. It's fine. Other characters have countless shit items you don't want to see. Getting a couple more on Stelle is not going to kill the character. But this is definitively a nerf in my eyes. Moving down to Parachute, it's still going to be quite good as well. Its high tier scaling was insane at 10, 20, 30 per start or stop. Now it's 10, 15, 20, which will still be very, very solid, but not quite as insane as it was. Next up, Wrecking Ball is getting a pretty big nerf. I think it probably needed it, but we'll talk about the more important part of Wrecking Ball's power level in just a second. For now, Wrecking Ball is 2 seconds slower, going up to 22 seconds in cooldown. The charge effect is now charge 4 instead of charge 5. The damage is down from 30, 40% to 20, 30%. And now it clearly describes what it's actually destroying against your opponent's items, just like the other thing, the Gravinator. These are all big nerfs. This is a repetitive chargeable item destruction effect. It's probably still just fucking fine. At Diamond, if you find multiple damage multiplications, if you do like Obsidian Big Guns, or sorry, Obsidian Glass Cannon, it still goes up high enough to one-shot your opponents. If you get 100% crit with Obsidian, it's still enough to one-shot your opponents. So it's not like it's weak at all. It's still destroying items, still very fast. It's definitely less insane than it was. But I think a big part of why it was insane is these next two changes. Nicola is now down to 1, 2, 3 seconds of charge, down from 2, 3, 4. I actually don't know how I feel about this. I get that Nicola was probably busted, but at the same time, Silver Nicola, charge for 1, slow for 1, literally doesn't do anything. So if we're okay starting at 2, 3, 4, just have it be a gold starting item and don't include a silver item that does nothing in the game. I would like to see Silver Nicola just removed, first of all, but this is how we're doing it. But second of all, I don't know if Nicola was the problem. Maybe it's fine. Like, I kind of feel like Orbital Polisher was the problem, but if we want Orbital Polisher in the game, then Stelle can't have items like Nicola. And even now, like, Diamond Nicola with Orbital Polisher is still very, very good, but like, you look at shiny silver Nicola right now, or sorry, shiny gold Nicola right now, and it's just almost the same effect as old Diamond Nicola, and that's kind of wild. It's much, much worse. And the fact that it's at silver doing literally nothing in shops is going to be kind of unpleasant. Then again, Dooley gets access to GPU at bronze tier, and that item literally does nothing until you hit your core, so it's not like it's the only item in the game where you see it in a shop and it actually does nothing. But the biggest nerf of the patch, and by far the most important nerf of the patch, the hammer no longer passes on its enchantments. It also starts at gold tier. This is important for 2 reasons. One, people would get silver tier hammers and just finish getting tools before they had to buy their gold large items. So on day 6, they would like buy a hang glider and then immediately upgrade it to diamond tier. And that was completely fucking broken. That had to go. That's the first thing that needed to be fixed. The other thing that was actually more common and more broken is you use Orbital Polisher, you put it on the hammer gains the shiny enchant, and then you can pass it on to any item on your board. The most common beneficiary of this in my experience was the Freefall Simulator. There's a lot of items you could put shiny enchants on that was really, really good, obviously. So fixing both of those issues with hammer is going to make Stelle a lot more reasonable. I cannot overstate how broken hammer plus Orbital Polisher and early hammer plus gold build around turned out to be. These two things needed to change, and Stelle's going to be like, this is actually a tremendous nerf. Maybe not to like the average player Stelle, but to what people like me were doing. The top end Nightmare Stelles just lost so much power, and I cannot overstate how important that is. I'm very happy to see it. Moving along, Drafting Table no longer passes on its enchantments. In a second, we're going to say that Wrench no longer does that. Everything that passed on the enchantments no longer does it. Good change. Sky Anchor now starts at silver, and its damage is like appropriately lower, but I mean, I don't know what Sky Anchor's for, man. I don't get it. It's an item that's charged when you stop flying to deal damage, so it's kind of like an incredibly bad hang glider, right? It's sort of like a hang glider that for one less item slot triggers 1/4 as often and doesn't scale anything and doesn't start items flying. Like, Sky Anchor is an item where I've never once even briefly thought this goes into my build. and making it more available, I don't think fixes the problem, but maybe I'm missing something. Next up, Pressure Heater, I'm actually very happy to see go to silver. It, as a gold item, really did not compete with stuff like Hang Glider and Skyliner, all these crazy gold build-around items. It's like Pressure Heater is much more in line with the other silver items. Additionally, it's slightly buffed at gold, slightly buffed at diamond. Hardly matters. I think you'll see a lot more builds involving just using burn items now, because Pressure Heater being available early and being a good source of burn scaling does a lot to make the slow archetype with Fire Hose more viable. Just any sort of build with just any sort of build using blowtorches, burn items doesn't really matter. I'm looking forward to seeing how that affects Stelle build diversity. I think it's going to actually matter quite a lot. Last but not least, Weather Machine's moving down to silver. Now it's slow all items for 1, 2, 3 seconds as opposed to 1, 2. Freeze an item on each board for 1, 2, 3 seconds as opposed to 1, 2. And it's one more flight at gold tier. I don't know how I feel about Weather Machine to begin with, because like when you're playing the build that Weather Machine wants to be in, this is not making it better, right? You actually, in my experience at least, you didn't want to slow your items for more. It's technically not symmetrical because Weather Machine makes your board fly, so you get slowed for half duration. I guess that's the idea. But my experience with Weather Machine is I was like, man, this is not even clearly a buff. I don't want to spend gold on this. Certainly, though, it's better at silver, right? If you're playing any sort of build that wants to have a slow all items on board effect, previously at silver, I believe it was just the Fire Hose. Having a second option for that helps build diversity again. Just both of these going to silver really helps that build to find its niche and excel, or at least gives it the chance to. I don't know if it will, but certainly not having them at silver tier basically forced you into fly cycling previously, because the vast majority of my Stelle games, I could not find an argument to go into anything other than fly cycling. Anyway, that's it for Stelle. Coming down to Dooley, we're seeing some buffs to some of the somewhat undeserved nerfs that he took. Brick Buddy and Chlorance are just back to their previous values. I think maybe they're a little bit worse than they were, but these are definitely needed buffs. Charging Station is now up to gold tier, no longer available at silver tier, and it's slightly worse at that gold tier, and it no longer reduces the core cooldown. I straight up didn't know it did that. I actually looked up the item to see if it's what I was thinking of. This reduced the core cooldown? I had no idea. Anyway, Cooling Fan apparently had an issue where its burn removal wasn't working, but I still don't think the card's good. I talked about it in the patch notes. I don't think it does much. Next up, Green Wasp is moving to silver, which kind of surprises me, and its cooldown is just straight up nerfs. Okay. If it's problematic, but I'm kind of surprised to hear it is. Launcher Core no longer charges itself if it's flying. That's probably a good change. Anything that is self-charging is always dangerous. Monitor Lizard now goes to silver tier. I believe the new version of it used to start at gold. Yes. And just like some other items with tier adjustments we've seen, it is marginally better at gold, marginally better or worse at diamond. Not a big deal. And the cooldown is actually much better at diamond. I'm interested in seeing the new Monitor Lizard stuff. I think that's actually going to be a cool card. I don't think it was really playable at gold, and I'm interested to see if it's remotely reliable at silver. Next up, Pulse Rifle had its base damage reduced. It was definitely one of the stronger things that we could be doing, and it's lost its tech tag, which does definitely matter. Pyrocarbon's enchantments have been reworked. Apparently, they weren't actually covered in the initial pass. They've been fixed now. Anyway, rounding out the bugs, Firefly is also moving to silver. Exact same changes as the Mantis. The Wasp. I'm kind of surprised to hear it, but okay. Scrap Metal is now starting at gold tier with just the opposite changes we've been seeing. 369 becoming 510 as it moves up in tier. And yeah, sure. I guess I can see that it would be broken at silver tier for all the same reasons as Hammer. I didn't really think about it because I don't play anyone other than Stelle right now because I'm addicted to the character. I think she's so cool. But yeah, makes sense that those would need to be nerfed for the exact same reason as Hammer. And Yellow Mantis, all the bugs are just going to this cooldown and this tier. All right, cool. I'm guessing that the bugs were really, really good with the launcher core, and that's why we're seeing them all go to silver tier. I'm not 100% sure what's happening. Any Dooley mains in the chat, feel free to let me know what's up. Next up, we got Pigmalien. There's a tooltip issue with Booby Trap that's been fixed. Close Sign is moving to Diamond, which kind of surprises me. What was it reworked to? Ah, right. When you heal with an item, charge adjacent properties. Yeah, considering the buffs to Money Tree, I can see how that might be a problematic design that deserves a diamond tier. I'm fine with that now that I know what it is. I was like, what does Close Sign do these days? I know it got reworked, but I just haven't been playing Pig at all. I literally have not started a game this season as Pig or Vanessa. Played one game as Dooley, one game as Mac, and I was like, Jesus Christ, why on earth am I not playing Stelle? So my knowledge of the new reworks for Pig, as exciting as they are it's very limited. Anyway, moving on with the rest of the changes, Crystal Bonds, I had an issue fixed with its shielding enchant. Can't imagine that came up often, but glad to hear it. Ice Cream Truck is now a property, makes sense to me. There are reworks on the enchants for Globe. The shiny enchant on Ledger is fixed. Apparently, shiny pawn shopped work from Stash. I'm glad to hear they fixed that. Rice Baller has had its enchants normalized because it can multicast very effectively. And Showcase had another bug fixed. So basically, aside from Close Sign going to Diamond, Pig is unchanged. Moving on to Mac, they fixed the bug with Blank Slate. They no longer pass enchantments with the Seller. The Fungal Spores enchantments have been reworked. They were like, you know what? That shit was crazy. Let's not keep that around. I can't say I blame them. I've seen Fungal Spores do absolutely insane work on top of the like infinite poison bounce if you have 2 copies of Toxic Fungal Spores. And Vulnerability Potion's now going up to Silver tier. Its cooldown is a flat 7. It's always 1 second, and the ammo is what changes. I wonder if that's a buff or a nerf. At 7 seconds, that's just going to trigger in fights and block random shit. Like, that's actually moderately fast. It only has the 1 base ammo, though. I have no idea. Invuln Potion's always been a weird card. Certainly, the fact that it's never Invuln for 2 fundamentally changes the use case of this card. And it's also just inherently better for Vial Launcher type stuff with a shorter cooldown. Like, actually a big Vial Launcher buff. This is a very important detail. I think I like this design more. I'm not sure if it's a buff or a nerf, but I've seen enough fights be determined by randomly generating a 2-second invulnerability potion that I'm happy to see it go down to 1 second and be balanced around that number instead. Anyways, the Potion Distillery is now the property type. Shrinking Potion at 4 seconds was crazy, and now it's up to 6 seconds. For anyone who hasn't seen it, it's pretty easy to generate a second Shrinking Potion as a Mac and just put both of them on either side of a boiling flask, and that it just shrinks you immediately. You just, every 4 seconds, you were losing 40% of your health bar. And with the ability to pretty easily find haste in Mac, that got out of hand real fast. Oh, they finally put the nail in Pendulum's coffin. The last patch note, Pendulum charge changed to 1 second. Oh, my beautiful boy. Look what they did to my boy. They've absolutely killed him. Your time as the most broken thing in the game is finally over. Everyone, welcome back, Fiber Optics. I mean, it's necessary. Pendulum has been broken at Diamond pretty much the entire history of Pendulum. For the entire lifespan of the game, Diamond Pendulum has been broken. When Mac released, it was really good. Anytime Mac has been meta, Pendulum has been the most important card to find. Anytime Mac had infinites, Pendulum was the best way to make infinites. And almost always, a gold Pendulum wasn't enough and a diamond Pendulum was. This was a one-stop shop to build infinites, so as much as it makes me sad to see Pendulum go, it needed to go. I can accept it. As someone who has played probably more Mac than most other characters in the past couple of months, as a huge fan of Pendulum, I got to admit, it needed to go. So fine. Take Pendulum away from me. I can live with it because I know it's going away from everyone else and it results in a better game. Anyways, I think this is going to result in a much, much healthier meta. In terms of these patch notes, like by far the most important notes, we scroll back up. It's right around here. It is hammer changes, no longer passing on enchantments, and it no longer starts at silver tier. Both of those are very, very important. I had a run that I didn't even upload where I went 10 wins with no difficulty, where I just found an Obsidian Hammer on Ayla on day 4. And I was like, all right, yeah, fucking sure, why not? And I got, I think, Obsidian Mag Shield on day 6 at Diamond. It was like, yeah, what are they going to do about it? And there's so many variations of that, where you get an early hammer, you use Orbital Polisher and pass on the enchantment. It was so broken, and it made Stelle so much more powerful, no matter what strategy she was pursuing. So the nerfs to abilities to pass the shiny enchantment Polisher and the nerf to hammer both matter a ton. Also, I'm sure you've seen a decent amount of it with people having gold large items before day 6. What you don't realize is a lot of the Stelles you're fighting have them in their stash, but they got random shit like Observatory that wasn't good. That was a huge impact on the meta. So Stelle got some definitely needed nerfs. There are some super powerful cards like Hang Glider. As I mentioned, I was playing a run that pivoted into Hang Glider when the patch went live, and for some reason it affected my board, even though it wasn't supposed to, but regardless. And when I was in that run, Hang Glider was still totally nuts, still an incredible card. So a lot of the most egregious stuff for Stelle is being lowered in power level. Things that diversify her are being lowered in tier to help her build different ways. And the most broken interactions with Hammer and Polisher are being fixed. I still think she's going to be the best hero, but I don't think it's going to be as clear cut as it was previously. Anyways, thank you for your time, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.